Whoa! It is Wednesday. It's the hump day, the turn day, the conversion day, from motivation into inspiration. You can be motivated for Monday and Tuesday. Convert on Wednesday and be inspired the rest of the week. That's what I'm talking about. Plateau and grow in your life. I am here, and it is a great day to answer some questions. Don't forget, Friday is one of my favorite trainings, toughness and telephone, the distinguishing factor between happy and successful people and those who are not. So I'm going to teach those lessons of how to be tough, mentally, heart, mindset, all of those ways of being tough, and how do we use the telephone, right? Not just for Snapchat. I'm going to teach, there's a place in positive reason for social media on the telephone, but there's many other functionalities to utilize. Team David Meltzer, thank you. We'll pin that up there. How do you register for training? It's really easy. Go to text me at 949-298-2905 or email me at david@dmeltzer.com. Go to dmeltzer.com/training. You got it. Please register for training. It's free from me, 11 a.m. every Friday. You can also, if you register, get the replay. Thank you. All right, Brooke, welcome. Miss you here in the office. Great to see you online. Pocket Square, looking good. I was blessed to have a speech today. Looking for questions from my team. What's going on, Blaine? You working behind that desk, or what's going on? Everybody just give up on me? What's going on? Here we go. All right. We got a question. Carrie, welcome. Loved Friday trainings. Appreciate that. Oh, here we go. David, thank you for joining me. Do you think with the way technology is going that there eventually won't be a need to get on a plane? Is that what it probably says? It cut off.
On the phone, like a phone call.
Oh, to get on a phone call. Once again, Friday's training will apply, but you will always be able to get on a phone call. There is a powerful thing called a voice. There's a powerful thing called a voice, and it vibrates, and it carries a frequency. And if you're denying yourself that emotional connection, incredible connection, you're making a huge mistake. And it's free to connect via voice, right? Telephony is the voice of connectivity. That's what we're going to talk about. How's your week going? Awesome. Any new ventures? Always new ventures. Always. Tons going on. Trying to clear out the pipeline for what we got going on. And looking here, David, great afternoon. Yes, thank you, Carl. How do you handle your publicity when you reach a certain status? Oh, wow. Great question. You create systems, right? Because I personally have time every day dedicated and have a system. Sometimes I cut and paste and have pre-answers for the same similar questions. Sometimes I also make mistakes, so you have to be able to illuminate the fact that you may cut and paste the wrong answer to the right question and have to restart. But you got to create systems. I need to be personally involved with what I'm doing. So I spend as much time, 80% of the time, in alignment as much as taking action. And as you build that brand, you got to have the systems in place to make sure that you still are on the pulse of your community and that you're personally helping them. So my coaching is very short but powerful, guaranteeing value. I answer all my emails myself, my Instagram, my LinkedIn, but I do cut and paste a lot of answers and have self-filling in, but no computerized templates, just me, cuddly. Hey, Cameron. We'll go ahead. Cameron's here a little bit early, but we'll bring on Cameron here. Let me see. Nope, do not see Cameron yet. So awesome. Thank you, Kate. Wonder where you were. In my studio. All right, let me get another question while we wait for Cameron. What's the worst investment you ever made? The golf course. Be the third owner of a golf course. Cost me tons of money, time, resources, and emotion. Be a third owner of a golf course. It's a much easier and better way to do it. Just is what it is. Great lessons came from the worst investment, though. I'll make it all back and more from the lessons that I've learned. Scott, can you hear me okay? Jake, can you hear me? Perfect. Someone has trouble hearing me. Dave, going through life, obviously ups and downs, or better known as lessons. How can I stay focused and balanced? I've lost friends and keeps cutting it off. But so look, friends are like a trolley. They get on, they get off. Some get on, never get back on. Some get off, never get back off, right? So just realize that through the lessons that you learn, things are going to change. You keep on learning those lessons. Pain's an indicator that you have lessons to learn. The key to friends for me is to make sure my friends are feeding me, not bleeding me. And to be honest if they're bleeding me. Give them an opportunity if they're bleeding you to make the change. But if they are, then you can either let them fade away, or you can run away and pray for their happiness, or try to understand them and pray for their happiness. But in the end, you want to surround yourself with the right people and the right ideas, because when you show me your friends, I will show you your future. All right, here we go. Keep it coming. All right. How to keep yourself motivated all the time. You cannot be motivated all the time. There's 3 segmentations of energy. Get you up, get you back up, get you started, get you restarted. Then you have conversion, which is the transitory part of energy that takes that rocket fuel of motivation that got you up, got you back up, got you started, got you restarted, and converts it into inspiration by using that energy to clear whatever ego-based corrosion or interference that there is between you and inspiration or spirit or energy or light or love and lessons. In other words, if you can use the motivation to learn the lessons and you learn the lessons, you've cleared the way for the inspiration. Inspiration is a long-term mechanism compared to motivation, which is a short-term fuel that gets you up, gets you back up, gets you started, gets you restarted. So the motivation, conversion, and inspiration is what some people, and appears to some people, is always being motivated. I'm just inspired. At times I'm motivated. That allows me to clear more of the connection that I have to that inspiration that I'm always connected to. It's a different philosophy and a different perspective, one in which, though, allows me to plateau and grow, to increase and accelerate my own vibration, my own frequency, so I have a stronger signal to a wider spectrum and a clearer message. And that's where I keep on practicing. Here we go. What do you look for when deciding whether to invest in an entrepreneur? Number one, I look at the entrepreneur. I look for credibility, emotional attachment. I look for one common denominator. Does that entrepreneur have the constant must be what they can be attitude? Because I can't teach that. And if they have that, I know I have statistical success on being successful if they allow me to help them with quantifying the reasons, impacts, and capabilities of what they do. And I will take an A entrepreneur with a B or C idea any day of the week, because I can make the idea or a product from a B to a C to an A, but I can't make an A entrepreneur. I can't teach them what must be what they can be attitude. It takes too long. So when they get that, come to me, because I know we can be successful. What are some questions you ask yourself in order to follow a leader most efficiently? Well, I always love the question, why, right? So, why would I do it? What are my reasons, impacts, and capabilities I'm looking for? Is it align my values with the what that I'm looking for? Do they have the what so they can give it to me or teach me how to get it? These are all great why questions to figure out exactly who to follow, who to be a mentor. Are they sitting in a situation you want to be? How can I getting out from stress and depression? Go do something for someone else and seek professional help. So if you're depressed and stressed, number one, find somebody that's professional to help you. Find a mentor that has that situational knowledge, but also go do good deeds. Go help other people. It is a truth. It's a powerful feeling. If you do it every day, it'll shift your own energy into happiness, away from the shortages, voids, and obstacles that you're causing yourself with anxiety and stress and depression. Get in the habit of being happy by being of service or of value to others and asking for help from a professional. There are a couple of questions. Can I join live? Yeah, let me go live. Let me see here. Still looking for Cameron. So let me see here. Cam, there we are. Right below. See, all you gotta do is ask. There we go, everybody. Sorry, I'm like in my own days. Hey, Cam.
Hey, David, how's it going?
I'm still trying to figure out Instagram after all these years. Certain names are like, It's like looking into the abyss. If everybody's ever seen the movie Blink, and they're like, if you've never seen a boat before, the Indians wouldn't have seen the boat on the shore. I could not see Cam, and you're right in front of me. So welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, David.
Oh, good, man. Well, I'm really curious about, I'm going to butcher the name, but it's Ubunye Challenge.
That's perfect, actually. That's right.
Oh, finally. I'm the name butcher got it right. Explain to me exactly what the challenge is and how consistent, persistent behavior has allowed you to achieve, some people would say, the inconceivable.
Yeah, it's been going for a while. I started the charity in 2011, and I'd just done I always grew up as an athlete, but I'd just done a cycling trip from Beijing to the southern tip of India. And I lived in Beijing for 3 years. I basically bought a bicycle and cycled to India. And it was an amazing trip. And then after that, I ended up getting my job back, but in London. And I was working in a corporate office, and I decided I kind of want to start I want to do something similar to what I just did, but like do it for something that I'm passionate about. And that was education in South Africa, and especially early childhood development in rural areas. And so that's kind of where it started. I found some friends who wanted to do some more crazy stuff with me, like swim the English Channel and row across the Indian Ocean. And we had about 20 athletes in the beginning. And then, just over the last 9 years, we just kept doing like crazier and crazier stuff. And I think, I'm pretty much the only guy that's kind of kept doing all this stuff because, guys get married and have kids and stuff. But yeah, like it's been amazing. We've done a lot on the ground charity wise, and pushed our limits quite a lot on the athletic side. But like you say, it's all about consistency and pushing yourself and doing it for the right reasons.
And I teach practicing ending fear. And a lot of the reasons people can't do things that they think are impossible are simply they're afraid of either failure, or they're afraid that they'll get hurt, or they're afraid that they'll of something that's inherent, that they're not worthy of it. And yet, usually people like you, the Jesse Islers, yourself, my friends Colin Jacobs, that do like these extraordinary things that, sitting there going, gosh, I could never do that. Something has happened to expand your perception of possibility. Do you know what like with Colin? I know what it was. He almost died. Was there one circumstance or certain circumstances that have evolved that allow you to see your possibilities in a different realm than other people do?
Yeah, that's an amazing question, David. I think obviously I know Colin quite well. He's a really good friend of mine, and we shared a boat. We were on a boat together recently, going to Antarctica. About 12, 13 days, and we shared the shift. So we were
I did the 30-day challenge with him. So the calendar,
awesome.
I did the calendar club. They ran a mile every day. I sprinted a yard. So I'm not quite up to the possibilities that you guys are, but I did it.
Yeah, no, awesome. Yeah, exactly. I've actually, Colin, I think Colin would agree with me here. He's failed a little bit and then recovered and done more. Like, I think that's what's done it for me. Like, I've failed a lot. But every time I kind of pick myself up and then try to try again and like better myself. And like, for example, 2 years ago, I tried to swim around Barbados, which is a 100-kilometer swim, never been done before. And the first time around, I failed. I got 2/3 of the way around. I still had an English Channel to go, and I pulled myself out. I just exhausted. And then 2 months later, I came back and I learned so many lessons, especially mentally, from the first time around. And the second time around, I kind of just knew what I had to do. And the second time I had the best swim of my life, and I just cranked it out. And then that was a 40-hour swim. And then I was like, man, I can do more. I just knew how much more potential I had from failing and then trying again and going one step further. And so last year, I tried to swim from Barbados to St. Lucia, which is a 56-hour swim, 150 kilometers, the longest channel swim ever. And I made that one. And, the hardest part's mentally. You have so much fear out there that you're not going to make it, or you're going to get stung by a jellyfish, or you're going to see a shark. There's so many variables out there. And at the end of the day, it's your mind that has to conquer that. And I'm sure you've also had these times where you've been fearful and you didn't know if you were going to make it. But what I like to do just specifically is you really focus on the fear and you try to see what it actually is. What are you scared of? And then you eventually get to the roots of it. And then you suddenly realize, like, I'm just a human being. Like, I'm supposed to be fearful. This is like a part of life. And once you've kind of accepted that fear, you can kind of almost just process it and then let it go. And it's almost like a meditation. You come out the other side more positive.
Yeah, it's so interesting because, you know, not in a physical sense. For me, the biggest fear I had physically was, you know, being a 147-pound college football player and returning punts with people flying down that, you know, it's like sharks and jellyfishes, but just in a shorter term. You know, there's different fears, but in business, I see the same thing. Like, you know, I could not trade the experience of, you know, losing over $100 million, of going bankrupt, you know, and I'm listening and feeling you when you didn't make it around the first time. And I know what you were talking about, why you had the best race of your life afterwards, right? And you wouldn't have had it if you made it. You never would have made it to that next frequency, to the higher vibration, if you did make it, right? You have to have this kind of yin and yang of, sometimes we push ourselves to a point where we don't make it, but we know now that point. And you'll never know the point until, you know, I always tell my kids, I'm like, if you're not, I give a dummy tax award in my office, right? The people who make the biggest mistakes, because how are we going to know how far we can go if we don't go as far as we can? And then change our mindset, change our heart set to go farther. Because that's what you basically said to me is, hey, I made it as far as I could. I was exhausted. And then I changed my mindset and my heart set, and it was easier than it ever was. And then I went on to even do, you know, this crazy Barbados to St. Lucia, 151 kilometers, 56 hours. You know, and it does, but it doesn't happen overnight, right? Because you have to keep on stepping the way. What's the greatest lesson for you in that mindset of not making it? You know, where is that great lesson for you?
You know, I think, like, for me, if I'm being honest, I always, like, before I try to do a big event or something that I'm pushing my limit, that, you know, it's almost beyond my limit. It feels impossible, and I'm trying to do it. I really try to lose. Obviously, I have a very specific goal of making it, and nothing would make me happier than to make it. But at the same time, I try to lose attachment to that goal. If I don't make it, it's not the end of the world. I'm still going to be happy. I'm still going to be have a great life. You know, same thing in business. If you don't close that $1 million deal, like, you're still going to be fine. You're still going to put food on the table. So I have that mindset going in, and there's obviously a little bit of dichotomy there between, like, a very specific goal, but then also not really minding if you don't make it. And I think that's extremely powerful. So when you do fear, if you do make it, then you're like, well, it was awesome. Like, I'm so glad I made it. But I wasn't that attached anyway. Let's keep going and try the next best thing. And if you don't make it, like, you fail, like I did, and the next day you wake up and it's like, well, that wasn't, like, you know, I didn't make it. Like, doesn't matter. I'm still in the right direction here. But man, I'm going to try again and see what happens. You know, then you don't have much emotion and attachment to it, and you can kind of be more creative in your solution. I always find that, you know, I've listened to a few of your things, and you get quite granular in your outlook on things. And I like to think about the physics behind your mental thoughts and, like, go really deep. And I don't like to be almost entangled with my thoughts. I'd rather just separate them and that way you can be very specific about, for example, in this situation, the solution, like, where did I go wrong last time? How do I fix it the next time? And in that instance, it was a mental hurdle. I could have kept going the first time. I just mentally, I wasn't there. And the second time around, when I got that same place where I gave up to the previous time, I felt the same feelings. I'm not going to make it. I still got an English channel to go. But I just managed to overcome that little hump. And luckily I had a support crew member there. He was watching me and chatting to me, like, from the kayak. And there's no way I was going to let it down, you know. So I had a bit of leverage with, like, a friend next to me too, to get me through that, which is obviously so important in life and in everything we do, is the people around us.
Yeah, because those people around us, or the energy that we surround ourselves, I call it the fog. And it was from a swimmer that I learned this. I forget her name, but there was a famous swimmer that was swimming the channel, and it was super foggy. And because she didn't know how close she was, she quit, grabbed onto the kayak and quit. And then when the fog lifted, was within, just meters of finishing.
Yeah.
And I love that story because my entire pursuit of my own potential, whatever the length or distance, as I analogously look at what you do, it's, can I enjoy the fog, right? And people, they don't realize what I'm talking about. Can I enjoy the fog? Because if I'm enjoying the fog, then my mindset and my heart set is in a different place. I'm not creating resistance between me and the shore. Right, I've actually lessened the resistance between me and the shore by focusing in on my love for the fog and allowing me to continue to my potential. Because the only difference between the two races, the one where you made it and the one where you did, where you created resistance, right? You had the physical, you had the physical capability of doing it. Would you agree? It wasn't a physical aspect. You were capable of doing it. But we do this in life. We're physically capable of doing it, but we're not enjoying the fog. And all of a sudden, but what can happen too is what you get is that extra person, or maybe it's music or a poem or a book that you're thinking or a podcast. But when you're doing something, when you feel that resistance, that friend in the kayak, right? Yeah. It cleared the resistance for you. That's exactly, and you talk about being granular, and I love being granular about it because it, to me, is a technology. It is physics, and to materialize sometimes the emotions that cause us not to get what we want, or in my pursuit, your potential. Like, there's nothing that feels better when we get close to our potential, or closer, I should say, closer to, and why people share. There's so many people watching this right now, is they want to share in that experience from someone that obviously has got close, in a very realistic way, so close to their potential, because no one else's potential has reached that before. That's why the 4-minute mile to me was so great by Roger Bannister, because an entire collective consciousness had created a resistance of what was physically possible. And even some scientists said and created resistance to a reality by saying it was physically impossible, right? There's many doctors and scientists like, human body can't go a 4-minute mile. But my favorite thing, the proof of it, was once he broke the 4-minute mile, within weeks, several people broke the 4 minutes mile, right? This is an exact example of why you are so important to people. And, because it'd be one thing for me to tell people, because it's not significant if I say, oh, closest Dave Meltzer's reached to his potential is I got to play, I was an average Division III football player in college. That doesn't mean very much, but I know in my heart, because of people like you, that it literally was like being there, what nobody would think was possible for me, including the doubts that I had in my head. And I pushed myself so hard for so long, every single day, dreaming about something that is not nearly as exciting as what you do, but it has the same significance in my life that I draw upon in other areas to be successful. How do you convert that extraordinary experience of being so close to your potential into some of the more pragmatic things in life? Or for you, is it just a matter of attaining all of the swimming stuff? How do you move that over to, for example, the foundation for actual dollars being raised? How do you use that same mindset and heart set to pursue something that's more tangible?
Yeah, no, it's a great question too. And I honestly, I love what you just said about the fog and enjoying the fog. It's so important, and that's actually what I'll mention now to do with my mindset. As I said it, a little while ago, I try to be unattached to the goal. Like, if it's a swimming goal, if it's a rowing goal, or if it's a business goal. I actually have a business in San Francisco. I own a cybersecurity company, and so we obviously have goals on multiple levels, and obviously the charity too. But if I use that analogy of the swim, that Barbados East St. Lucia swim again, having this amazing goal, like you're standing on the beach. You're looking across the Caribbean Ocean towards St. Lucia. It's 150 kilometers away. You can't see it, obviously. You just know it's in that direction. You got to now you have to swim for more than almost 3 days, 2.5 days to get there. It's a very weird feeling. But you have this very specific goal that you want to get there, and it's extremely specific, and you really want it. But then what I do is obviously I just unattach myself to the goal. Like I'm just going to enjoy it. And this is the whole thing you mentioned, like just enjoying the fog. Like for instance, on the second day, so I've been swimming for a day and a night. Now it's the next day. The water temperature was unseasonably warm. It was 90 degrees, which is pretty much as hot as seawater gets. I was training in St. Pete's in Florida.
Unfortunately, for now, with our environment changing, for now it's as hot as it can get. Right?
It's getting more and more. And luckily I trained in that, but it was pretty miserable. You've been swimming for 36 hours already, and now you're swimming in 90-degree water, and you're just drained, and you're hating it. And but then obviously I'm fearful I'm not going to make it now, and my body's not enjoying it. But then because I'm unattached to the goal, you relax, and how am I going to get through this? And then luckily my crew came to the rescue. Same girl, Christina Evelyn, who was on my previous swim and got me through that. She saw how miserable I was, and she just starts giving me extra ice in my water bottles, so I can put ice in my cap, and it's cooled down, and instead of every 30 minutes feeding with ice, every 15 minutes, just to get me through this really hot stage. And the sun went down eventually, and I carried on. But through that whole time, I was never going to give up. I was just enjoying it, even though I was kind of tired and miserable, I was in the moment because I wasn't attached to the outcome. I just wanted to be there, swimming in the Caribbean Ocean. Although it's miserable, I'm still here, enjoying the fog, like you said. And then since I've had this mindset I've kind of transferred that into my daily life. And, I've meditated since early college days. So, it's almost 20 years. And so it's a big part of my life. I'm quite holistic. And so in business, I do the same. I get into a kind of meditative state, and I think about very specific goals I want for my company, but for a client, how am I going to help the client? What I want from them? What do they want from me? Try to pick very specific goals, and then lose attachment to the outcome. You don't know what's going to happen with this client. You might make them happy, you might not. You might have a great deal, you might not, and it doesn't really matter. You go in the right direction, and your intentions are good. And then obviously with the charity, obviously on that side, we're just trying to help kids. In the poorest part of South Africa, which is one of the poorest parts of Africa, where these kids, in the last 6 years ago, there was no early childhood development formal classes taking place in a 100-kilometer radius. And so kids were spending the first 6 years of their lives at home with their grandparents, not going to school, and going to the first day of school at 6, which is incredible. These kids have lost out on so much education. They pretty much don't have a chance in life before they've even had a chance to think for themselves. And so I was our goal there from the beginning. We had this very clear mission as a charity that every kid in that region had to have access to early childhood development. And we've worked really hard with our partners on the ground, the Bunya Foundation, similar name. They gave us the name, actually, our name. And now there's 45 sites, teaching early childhood development on the ground. And we had that specific goal in the beginning, and we've worked so hard at it, consistently, and had some amazing outcomes.
That's amazing. It's interesting. I'm doing a training this Friday. I do them every Friday to help empower people. And you and I share. I'm a little north of you in Africa, in Kenya, mostly with the work we're doing. A very similar work with the Unstoppable Foundation. But I'm doing a training on toughness and telephone. And the toughness side of things is about people, I think, misinterpreting the attachment to an outcome. They can't understand. One of the hardest challenges I have to communicate toughness is that in order to be tough is to realize that I still am extremely focused and competitive on a goal, right? Just because you're saying you're detaching from an outcome, you're hyper competitive to achieve what you're trying to achieve. It's the idea of detaching my emotions, right? The energy that I give the outcome, that I use the energy in order to get to the outcome, still with the outcome in sight. I've just, instead of, if I'm going to, let's say, run from Maine to San Diego, instead of only putting all my energy into San Diego, I'm putting my energy into the 3 feet in front of me, right? Yeah. Enjoying the fog, whatever, if it's hot water, if it's fog, and then allowing not only myself, but all the energy around me to work with me and through me, not for me or against me. Because a lot of times people allow those things like the hot water and the fog to work against them or to them like a victim. And yet you know, this friend of yours, for example, is a motivational reminder, separating motivation from inspiration. You're inspired, right? You're connected to, and all of a sudden hot water creates interferences and voids from your objective. And sometimes we just need the rocket fuel, somebody that sits there and says, you can do it, or give, and sometimes it's by action. You know, recently, one of the biggest motivations that I gave is donating computers to young at-risk kids, because, you know, I know the effect, these schools aren't going to go back into session. And a lot of these kids who want to be, you know, doctors, lawyers, presidents, senators, like they want to be really impactful people. Well, if they can't go to school because they don't have a laptop, who knows what happens to that energy, right? When you take away San Diego from them, right? Then they start objectifying something that they can achieve, all because they're not given the inspiration and the motivation. And I think that's what your charities recognize as well as mine, that, you know, sometimes that motivation has to be in a pragmatic, material way that is just like ice, right? You're giving ice when these kids are in hot water, but you're also providing one last thing that we'll touch, and I'll let you go. I think is important. What makes what you do significant is people, once they see the 4-minute mile being broke, once they see someone swim 151 kilometers, which is over 75 miles for the Americans in there, just in case they can't make the conversion. That's a long way to swim. It's a long way to run. But, you know, once we see it, right, once we see it, we can much statistically achieve something that has been seen, right? But to accomplish the unseen, where is that nuance in your mind, in your strategy? Because that's where the empty mile is. That's where extraordinary happy, the Elon Musk of the world, the Richard Bransons of the world, my mentors of the world, where I pursue to be one of those people that, you know, when I told them I'm going to empower over 1 billion people to be happy, that's something nobody's seen before. Right? And not do it like Gandhi or Mother Teresa. I'm not walking the streets of Calcutta giving away my life. I'm doing it literally in a pragmatic, capitalistic way. I'm going to empower over 1 billion people to be happy. Where's that nuance for you to make real the unseen?
Yeah, amazing question. And yeah, I love what you're doing, David. Yeah, I think for me, it's that first step when you have this impossible goal. Like for us, sitting on a boat at Cape Horn trying to row to Antarctica, like how do you get there? Like what I like to do is like imagine the goal, like what I want to do. What is so rowing to Antarctica? It's supposed to be impossible. And then thinking about obviously what's my current state, like what am I capable of doing right now? And probably right now or before the road, like I can't row to Antarctica like I am right now. And then like how do you bridge that gap? There's obviously a gap between what you can do and what you want to do. And it's a difficult question. Like how do you bridge that gap? And for me, like I have to get holistic about it. I have to meditate on that. I have to get so deep into it. And then and just imagine that gap between my potential and what's impossible, and just get creative and just narrow that gap mentally. Because once you can narrow that gap mentally, then you can then suddenly you realize, oh, I can actually do that. I have to super perform, but I can do it. And that's what it is. You know, that's when you meditate on it and you get really deep into it, you're able to super perform. Then, as you say, like once you break that 4-minute mile, you're like, oh man, like I could have done that. Like I knew I could have done that. You know, like
right. But and I think it's math. Like I use math. I know it sounds silly because you and I are more holistic and we meditate and utilize creativity, collaboration, and commandment of the universe. We believe everything is accessible and is done to get it. But in the end, what bridges the gap a lot of times is the math of it. Like for me, where my dream became real was when I just said to myself, okay, if I could empower 1,000 people like Cam to empower 1,000 people to empower 1,000 people, 1,000 times 1,000, a million times 1,000 is a billion. But if all I did was sit there going, oh my God, 1 billion people, how am I going to teach 1 billion people to be happy? I never could have bridged the gap, right? I would have been inspired and motivated. I would quit on it because it wasn't as real. And I think, especially in sports, I think Roger Bannister broke down like in increments where he had to be to break the 4-minute mile, and he had people helping him. You break down the same way, 75 or more miles, 151 kilometers, in order to get to something that you can't see. And yet the way that we do it is through creativity, through manifestation, collaboration, meditation, to get there, because what we're doing is just accessing what's already there. And until we can ironically convince ourselves, then we're never going to be able to do it. But the only way to convince ourselves is to dream and to, you know, like Van Gogh said, right? I love it. I love imagining what I'm going to paint, but then painting what I imagined. And you're painting what you imagine and putting math and statistics and physicality, materialization to what you've imagined.
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, once you have that very specific goal and you know you can bridge that gap, then you got to just work really hard. And it's just like the training and the preparation logistically and, you know, obviously physically, like to suddenly swim 150 kilometers, you got to train for at least 6 months and build up to 12 hours of swimming a day, which is, it sounds ridiculous, but that's just what you have to do. And that's, you know, but that specific goal and then losing attachment to it kind of lets you do that. And yeah, and like you just mentioned, the all the stuff helps, especially the holistic stuff. Yeah,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you're awesome, man. Well, modern day Roger Bannister, Cameron Bellamy, friends of my friends. If you see Colin, make sure you tell him hello, that you met a member of his calendar club. The weakest link, the ball always finds the weakest player. I was Colin's weakest player, but I raised money for the relief for here, what we're doing in America for our first responders with Jesse. And of course, Colin led the way in. Please join me again, my friend. I am right there with ICE supporting you. Just virtually, I got you in my mind's eye, and I'm praying for your happiness and your success. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us.
Thanks for having me, David. Appreciate it.
Awesome. See you soon, Cam. Take care.
Cheers. Bye.
There you go. What you can conceive, you can achieve. And that's living proof. Join me Friday for Toughness and Telephone. Training's free. David@dmeltzer.com. David@dmeltzer.com. Text me 949-298-2905. Join me, register free. Please, we are going to make this world a better place, create a collective consciousness of happiness. I'm going to take one more question, and then we're going to call it Wednesday. All right? Here we go. Best investment you ever made, not necessarily in myself. That's easy. Best investment you're ever going to make is in yourself, right? Some people call it sacrifice. I call it investing in yourself. If you're not going to invest in yourself, what are you ever going to invest in? Think about it. If you're not going to invest in, if you're not going to have faith in yourself, if you're not going to do and be a Cam Bellamy, if you're not going to be able to sell and to do what you need to do, if you're not going to invest in yourself, what are you ever going to invest in? You can't give what you don't have. So invest in yourself. It's not sacrifice, it's investment. Invest in yourself. And most importantly, and the best investment you can make in yourself is by being kind to your future self and doing good deeds. Join me Friday, free training. My free books right now. If you want a free book, go ahead. David@dmeltzer.com. Email me. Text me, 949-298-2905. Get a free book, register for free training. I got free training guides and exercises. Everything's free. I'm not selling anything. I'm just trying to empower you to be happy. A happy world is a profitable and abundant world. Unbelievable. We are looking forward to it. I want to thank Cam, extraordinary, the Van Gogh, the Roger Bannister of our era. Unbelievable what you can accomplish, detaching yourself from outcomes, enjoying the clouds, understanding motivation, conversion, and inspiration. Thank you so much. I will talk to you all soon. Be kind to your future self. Do good deeds. See you on Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern.